is Iceland. The Central Front is Iceland. The courageous stand of gallant Iceland in defying the British, the Dutch, the International Monetary Fund, and the European Union has captured the imagination of the universe. And in particular, I want to call people's attention, in the past couple of days, you've had Birgitte Jonsdottir, or Jonesdottir, as it seems to be written from the English phonetics, appearing on the INN World Report with Lenny Charles, on Alex Jones, and also in the Max Kaiser Report on Russia Today. So Birgitte Jonesdottir emerging rapidly as an important spokesperson for this battle worldwide, because this is something that can teach a lesson to Americans, to people from Peru, to Indonesia, to the Philippines, to Nigeria, South Africa, any place there's a debt burden, a debt yoke, Iceland is showing the way. So we want to go quickly now to our correspondent in Reykjavik, and that's Þórarinn Einarsson. And, of course, as we go towards that all-important 20th of February referendum, we're going to be getting weekly reports. Every week at this time, tune in for Þórarinn's report on the ground in Reykjavik. So, Þórarinn, what's the situation? What can you tell us?
Yes, hi, Webster. The last week we had a surprisingly very positive coverage in the mainstream media, the foreign media. And we've seen articles where many were very sympathetic to the Icelandic cause, and they saw how it was unjust that Iceland should pay these huge amounts. And this has been very embarrassing also for the Icelandic government, because they had not written similar articles like these. And so we are getting support from the international community, also from many people. And actually, Birgitta, she just put up a website. It is SaveThePeopleOfIceland.com, and where people can, write their petition for, supporting the Icelandic people. And as you say, this is like the we are in on the front, battling with the financial oligarchy.
Okay, SaveThePeopleOfIceland.com. Can you give us an example of maybe one article that's been sympathetic to the Icelandic position?
I noticed the last one I noticed was from Martin Wolf on Financial Times, and he said that the British and the Dutch should actually just take up the assets of Landsbanki, who they thought would cover 90% of their claims anyway, and just that should be enough.
So the British government and the Dutch government should seize the existing assets of the Icelandic banks on their own territory.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually
more fair.
It's actually it's part of the deal that these assets of Landsbanki, they should cover.
It sounds like we've lost.
We think that the assets, they are totally overestimated. These are kind of junk loans, and but of course the figure is pressing it up and letting it look like it's not so much that we will pay in the end.
Okay.
The assets of Landsbanki should cover it.
Let's now go to the streets of Reykjavik and the Icelandic people. What does that campaign look like? What's the situation on the ground directly?
Well, it is not a formal campaign starting, except we have weekly demonstrations on Saturdays, and that's mainly connected with the loans of the families that they have risen dramatically. And, of course, people are demanding that they will be fixed.
Now, let me just make this clear. I take it this means floating rate mortgages on homes or floating rate consumer loans? So you get a loan from the bank and then they can raise the rate after you've taken out the loan?
Yeah, there is. Most of them are, they have the consumer index that is basically connected with inflation. So you always pay the inflation additionally to the loan. And
Wow.
then, of course, there are many so-called currency loans, and they were based on, they were indexed with the foreign currencies. And, of course, when the krona dropped, their loans rose over double.
Okay, so the referendum is the 20th of February, am I right?
Yeah, it's not completely decided. It's also said 27th or even at latest in, I think, early March, 6th of March, something like that. But it's many politicians here in Iceland, they have stated that we should call it off, try to get a better deal and avoid having the referendum. But even some in the opposition. But of course the people would really like to have this referendum and just say their no, and we are hoping that we have a big no. And the recent polls, they say about 60% will say no, 40% will say yes. And I'm really hoping that we will have a larger margin on the no.
Absolutely. And remember, the track record is France, Netherlands, Ireland, and other places. Whenever this finance, Eurocrat, Eurogarch stuff has been put up to a referendum, they lose. So there's a very good chance that this can lose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even the Prime Minister is hopeful that in the end the people will say yes. And of course they will have their campaign saying that this is the best to do. And the government is really locked up in their position that it will be very embarrassing if we will get a better deal in the end. And they have pushed so much for the current deal as the best possible.
So they're betting against Iceland in favor of their own careers and their own reputation.
It's actually very sad to see the supporters of this government and government officials and parliament members, how they are explaining, why we have to pay, why we are obliged to pay, and they're always trying to correct other people who say otherwise. And it's basically like they are working for the British and the Netherlands.
Absolutely. So tomorrow the demonstration is, I guess, at the square in front of the Parliament?
Yes, it has been weekly, and of course it's always mixed with the ISAVE dispute, but this is mostly about demands for changing the loans or correcting it.
Yes, I think the basic demand would be to outlaw any kind of adjustable rate loan or adjustable rate mortgage, because that essentially means that the little person, the borrower, pays the price for inflation, meaning that the deck is stacked in favor of the lender, in favor of the bank. Anyway, we're looking forward to hearing from you again next week. So, Rowan, give us a report on that demonstration tomorrow, first-person account, and anything else that happens. We're looking to you, and we'll see you next week, and more power to you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Bye-bye. See you next week, and we'll be back in a minute on World Crisis Radio.